Before I get started, I just feel like, this morning when the keynotes got started, there was a very important point that was made. And I hope you didn't hear anything today. Remember what that quote was. He said, the world is changing. And he talked about the importance of the new boss. And he said, if we, as supply chain network operators, doesn't take care of what our new bosses are, and we don't have the agile network to be able to solve that problem, he said, we're about to run a supply chain that's going to fail. And one of the reasons why I love JDA is not just because of the fact that they are a great software company, because they understand, because their brand promise is something that's very important. They say they want a plan to deliver. And that's pretty powerful stuff, because at Samaritan's Fit, our brand promise, we want to be able to create a world with zero shoeless children. Here comes why I'm walking around with no shoes. Some of you guys here are looking at me and saying, man, why in the world are you not wearing shoes? Wearing a nice suit? But you're missing your pair of shoes. Like my friends in South Africa would say, you're missing your pair of techies. But the reality is, there's over 2.5 billion people in the world that has no shoes. 1.24, close to about 1.3 billion kids worldwide are infected by soil-transmitted parasites and infection that can be cured, literally by preventing them by wearing shoes. I bet before you came here today, you didn't realize that reality, that there are diseases in the world that can really, tropical disease can be eradicated by not having shoes. So I'm going to share a little bit about that in a few minutes. But before I do, I want to share a quick story, because you've been sitting down for a while. And before I get down there, I want to share this story. The picture you're looking at is actually a gentleman. Like you can tell he lives in somewhere in Ohio. And that gentleman's married to this woman. Like you can tell, that woman is a nagging wife. And that woman, man, there's nothing that man can do that's ever right. Whatever he says he's going to do, he's going to nag. She's going to nag on him and nag on him and nag on him. And one day, guess what happened? She said to him, you'll never do anything fun anymore. He said, well, we need to do something. You've never taken on vacation. So he said, well, I'm going to plan something. So he said, I'm planning something. I plan a great vacation. So they planned an amazing vacation. And she said, I'm going to take you to Israel. Wow, the woman was so excited. We're going to go to the Holy Land. So guess what happened? They planned the stuff, and the day came, they flew to Israel. It was amazing. The first day, they looked at the Holy Land and said, man, what an amazing place, and something catastrophic happened. The woman died. And there was a gentleman that came and looked at this woman, and this man said, I'm so sorry about the stuff that's happened to you. He said, but you know what? We got to take care of business, because you know what? For $5,000, we can ship your wife back to the United States and have an amazing funeral. For about a couple $100 we can have for her right here in Israel, one of the best funeral service there is. And the man pondered for a couple of minutes. He said, let's ship her back. And the man said, what? For a few $100 we can have an amazing funeral for your wife right here in the Holy Land. He said, let's ship her back. The man pondered for a couple of minutes. He said, a long time ago, there was a man that lived in this place. And then he died. He said, 3 days after that death, he rose from the dead. I can't take that chance. One of my greatest role models in the world passed away not too long ago. He's a great citizen of the world. His name is Nelson Mandela. He said this quote, and it always resonates with me. He said, what counts in life isn't the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference that we have made in the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life that we lead. There are two kinds of people in the world, and I think Kevin actually alluded to that a while ago. He said they're problem makers and they're problem solvers. I think I'm looking to eye some amazing problem solvers right here today. Because as professional supply chain professional, most of you guys are looking for a way to create value. And if you look at me, what I do, the reality that I have a customer base of over 1-something billion children. 1.2-something billion children that lives in places like Calcutta, India. Like places like Lagos, Nigeria. On the other place of Juba, Sudan. Maybe it's in Monrovia on the other side of Liberia. Maybe they are in Moyo, Uganda. Maybe they are on the other side of Iraq. Maybe they are in a place like in Ohio and in Charlotte. They're probably in Mississippi. They're in Georgia. But the reality, there are people that we have to take care of, because the reality is if we don't plan to deliver, some of those people die. Because something that we take for granted in this world, a pair of shoes. I bet you didn't know that reality today, that there are people in our world that will die because they have no shoes. Many of them can go to school because of something that is a fashion accessory to us in this country, a pair of shoes. To them, is that the difference between them being able to pursue their education or being able to just stay alive. That's the reality in which I live in. I got to figure out, how do I ensure that my supply chain network operates? You know, the reality is I'm headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina. I got to be able to ensure that I can deliver value for kids that live on the other side of Sudan. That kids can live on the other side of Kenya. That kids can live on the other side of Russia. How do I ensure that when people like Sears and people like Kmart decided I'm going to give Madison Street and Manny Ohonme 1-point-something million pairs of shoes, and I have a supply chain network that before I only had a single warehouse, how do I go configure a network in which I can actually deliver this goods to make sure those kids stay alive? That's where friends like JDA comes in. How do I have visibility to my stuff that sits on the other side of Sudan? How do I ensure that when my supply chain plan is trying to figure out what they got to do to ensure that we have enough shoes on the other side of Nigeria? Maybe when Ebola kind of kicked off in Liberia, some of those people didn't realize a guy that actually had laceration in their feet, or a young girl that splits their blood, that helps further the transmission of those diseases. That's the reality. We've got to make sure where the shoes are in our supply chain. We've got to be able to look to someone like JD and say, we actually have X number of pair of shoes in Liberia. If we can provide them shoes, we can keep their lives alive. That's the challenge that I got to deal with, the reality of how do I go establish a new world. That's why I provide shoes in these markets. These people are saying, we don't need to be dumping shoes no more, so we got to start figuring out how do I create economic development opportunities so I can start creating micro-manufacturing in places like Brazil, in places like Rwanda and Burundi. How do I go create stuff in which I can create social enterprises, so I'm not just providing shoes, but also giving them an opportunity to be able to save these people's life. You know, a friend of mine told me a long time ago, he said the wealthiest place in the world, it's actually not the gold mines of Ghana. He said the wealthiest place in the world is actually not the diamond mines of South Africa. He said the wealthiest place in the world is actually not the financial sector of the Wall Street there in New York or somewhere in Switzerland. He said actually it's not the copper mines of Chile. He said the wealthiest place in the world is the cemetery. And when he said that stuff to me, that blew me away. He said, I don't know where can the wealthiest place in the world be the cemetery? He said, because therein lie some of the greatest business plans that were never executed. Some of the greatest books in the world that we ever conceived were never written. Some of the greatest songs that we ever dreamt of, they were never sung. And many people are dying every single day still making the cemetery more wealthy. The idea is sitting in this room because of fear, whatever it is, there's just no way I can go do this. And every single day they're living their life without a purpose, just going to work and just doing something that really doesn't truly contribute to humanity. And our young people that today they're looking at our world, I want to come work for JDA. The question is, how are you making a difference? What's your footprint looks like for truly creating social change in our world? How can I go to work and believe that I'm doing something that truly contributes to the future of humanity, that I can actually truly make a difference either in Arizona or somewhere on the other side of India? That's one of the things that I'm excited about partnering with JDA. How do we create a partnership that's just beyond just helping us to move products, but also the supply chain of changing lives? Because the two lives that we serve is not just the kids that we serve all over the world. There are over 6.5 million children that we've now served in over 75 countries. But also those people that sit in front of those kids, that look those kids in the eye and say, man, you can become somebody, and you can dream and accomplish great things. You know, you don't become great by doing nothing. True greatness is really found in giving yourself the service to others, not persuading others to just serve you, but you live your life in such a way that you're a true servant. You know, Muhammad Ali said this stuff a long time ago and it always baffles me. You know, he says service to others is the rent in which we pay to live here on planet Earth. Now, that's what we're called to do to truly change life. And I want to show a short video with you right now, because this will actually help embody the true essence of who Samaritan's Feast is all about. Would you play that video for me?
I know what it means to live in darkness. I know what it means to live in hopelessness. I was this kid that go around burning down churches and hurting innocent people. But today, it's different. Because of that few minutes that Manny spent with me, he gave me a reason to see a brighter side of the future.
You know, what we do with the children is greater than just providing shoes. Shoes to us in this country is a fashion statement, but to the millions of kids around the world, it's actually a vehicle to help them survive.
he's a special guy. You know, anyone who would try to give back the way that Manny is giving back, I think it really speaks volumes about what his values are.
I know what type of man he is, and I know the capability and the potential, and also his vision.
Forget the wins, forget the Final Four, forget whatever it can do. When you just made a child's life a little bit better, a 7-year-old little girl who's never owned a pair of shoes, and to see the smile on her face, man, that's magical.
Close to 300 million children wake up each morning without a pair of shoes on their feet. I've been called to put shoes on the feet of children, but we didn't know how in the world this dream was ever going to come to reality. But that's when we came up with the idea, what if we can impact 10 million children? But to get to 10 million, you got to start with your first one. And then one shoe became 2, became 8, became 100, became 1,000. And eventually I remember raising a little over 1,000 pairs of shoes and going to South Africa on our first project. You should see the faces of those children when we wash those kids' feet. Our ambassador literally would get on those dirty floors and look them in the eye and ask them, what is the worst thing that's ever happened to you and what's your dream? And then we inspire them and remind them that their dream can come true, that they can dream big. And when they leave, they get up with the smiles on their faces. Oftentimes, the people that are washing these kids' feet are crying. These kids are crying, and we hug each other. And there's a moment in life that you realize that you were placed here to help impact one child.
I want to see that smile.
Oftentimes you always wonder, are the things that I'm doing really make a difference? And I remember actually going to this orphanage in Nigeria a long time ago and seeing this young boy.
I was just another kid in Nigeria. I was in a very difficult stage in my life.
And I remember looking him in the eye, wondering what kind of hopeless situation this little boy is in.
He gave me a reason to see a brighter side of the future. He refused to see me giving up on myself.
Ibrahim ended up coming back to school here in the United States and learning how to actually, go around the world and perform humanitarian acts.
Manny made it his job to provide for me.
Doing okay?
I'm doing good. And he took care of me since then.
We've been able to pay forward that which has been done to us, and now Ibrahim is also trying to impact and change the next generation of people so we can all make a difference if we intentionally choose to do what we've been placed here to do. We ask ourselves, what if we could get a Division I basketball coach to help us coach a basketball game on national TV without shoes?
I had to kind of think about it. I called some of the people that I trusted in. I said, hey, what do you think about this? And everyone said that I shouldn't do it except for my mother. And I knew then that it was the right thing to do when Mom said it was okay.
Coach Hunter became the face and the voice for millions of children worldwide. The next year, we had about 1,000 coaches the second year. The third year, we had about 3,000 coaches helping us raise new shoes so we can become that vehicle of hope to be able to transform people's lives.
Whether I'm coaching or whether I'm not, whether I'm done, I'm retired, I will continue to do this so that we can make a dent.
There's so much that can still be done. And our goal is to impact 10 million children worldwide.
10 million shoes in 10 years, I tell you what, it sounds ridiculous, but it's one of those things that's so ridiculous it just might work.
I'll take half of those 10. I'll see Manny in 5 years saying, Muggs, I'm there.
Anybody ever told you that your idea sounds ridiculous? Never told you that your dream is crazy? There's just no way you can accomplish such monumental task. I stand before you today as one of the most blessed persons on the face of this earth. Like you can tell I have a little accent. I'm not from the other side of Barcelona. I'm from Nigeria. See, I grew up so poor, you can't tell today. I used to pray this prayer every single morning. I used to say, God, would you give me 001? You know what that means? It's okay if I don't have breakfast. You still cannot have lunch, but at least give me supper so I can make it to the next day. I bet you guys can't tell that today. Look at all the good things that God has done. But the reality of my world was so different. I was so poor I didn't have shoes. At the age of 9, my responsibility was to be able to help my mom contribute to the bottom of my family. My job, anybody ever watched Discovery Channel before? I used to be one of those kids you could see on Discovery Channel carrying baskets on their head to go sell water and soft drinks at parks where athletes used to come play sports by my house. And one day at the age of 9 when I went to that park to go sell water, there was a group of missionaries that came to my country. They came to teach African children how to play sports. So they brought this little orange ball. See, in my country, everything that's round and bounce, we kick them. But they call this one basketballs. They come to teach African children how to play basketball. So I showed up at the park that day, and these kids were having fun, and all these kids told me I was a street kid. I didn't belong. You go do your thing. Anybody ever told you don't belong? And I was just looking for an opportunity just to join in. So I stood around the corner as I saw one of those balls roll around. And I went and grabbed one of those, and I snuck in. And I joined and we started teaching us how to dribble. They're teaching us how to pass the ball and how to shoot the ball. And all of a sudden, the missionary told us we're going to have a shooting competition. And they said the prize for the winner is going to be a pair of tennis shoes. Now you should have seen the excitement in the face of all those children, because if you grew up in my neighborhood where people live on less than $1 a day, a pair of tennis shoes is like having a Mercedes-Benz. So when they said we're going to give somebody a pair of shoes, all those children went crazy, including myself. Pick me, everyone wanted to get picked. I was one of the few guys that got picked that day. I never shot a basketball in my life. The first shot I took that day was nothing but net. The Angels was working overtime, man. I shot 2 shots that day that changed my life. I ended up winning my first ever pair of tennis shoes. I became the first person in my family, actually not in my family, but in my entire community, to own a pair of tennis shoes. It was something so crazy. All I wanted to do was just run home. And this missionary grabbed me by my shoulder and he said, son, don't run so fast. He said, just because all you see around you is poverty doesn't mean the God of the universe has forgotten about you. He said, keep dreaming and keep dreaming big. You know, he could have told me that day that the sky was green, I would have believed him. All I wanted to do was just run fast. And after I finished picking it, presented me those shoes, I took off. I ran so fast, I forgot my basket of water. And I showed up at home. My mom looked at me and said, son, where's my water? I said, Mama, check out my shoes. Mama was happy for me. And a few minutes later, he said, son, you better go bring my water back, or else you're about to meet Jesus. And she wasn't playing. She said, man, I ran so fast, man, I was spraying all the way. The water better be there. And I got back to that place, and that water was there. I brought that stuff back to my stuff. I was so excited. See, I'll go to the park. I never put on those shoes, because those shoes were a symbol of something very special to me, because somebody from America gave me those pair of shoes. I never want to wear them or get them dirty. Basketball became my love. See, if you grew up in a place like that, the challenges in which our parents had. My father was an alcoholic. And all I ever heard from him is that I'll never amount to anything. And so basketball became my sanctuary, became my love. Things would get crazy on the basketball court. At home, guess where I went? I went to the basketball court. So I started getting bigger and better. My love for basketball evolved, and I became a better basketball player. I got bigger. And eventually I said, I want to go to America one day. And I had applied for scholarships. I ended up getting 5 scholarship offers. See, I didn't know anything about America. I said, man, I'm going to America to go play basketball. See, all I knew was New York. All I knew was Los Angeles. Also, that beautiful place called Houston, Texas. See, I didn't know nothing about it, so I said, for the great marketing people in the room, just like Kevin, be careful for those guys. See, I said, I'm going to go to the place with the best-looking brochure. I didn't know what I was talking about. I accepted my offer to go play at the University of North Dakota in Lake Region. Oh, you guys don't know where North Dakota is. It is the coldest place in the world. I truly believe African people should not live in North Dakota. I showed up in North Dakota, I said, I've done something wrong. But one of the most beautiful things that happened to me, man, because it's real cold in North Dakota, the blankets don't keep you warm enough. You get them. After I finished college, I married my beautiful bride. My bride is sitting right in front of me today, because those blankets don't keep you real warm. I'm serious. You need some warm stuff right next to you. So my life was going so well. I finished school, I got my undergrad, I was doing so well. I didn't have a lot of time today. I actually wrote a book titled Sole Purpose. I believe JDA is going to make this available to the first 50 people out there. You can come and see me, I'll sign one for you. And then if you don't become one of those first 50, we also have an extra copy for a $20 gift. You can get one for yourself to read about it, about how you can live your life and figure out what your sole purpose is. See, my father that abused alcohol ended up dying because of his choices. I always tell people in life, we get time to make our choice, but never do we get to pick our consequences. My father's choice to abuse alcohol cost him his life. And I had to go back to Africa to go bury my dad. And that's when I showed up in this place where I grew up, in this 2-bedroom that 15 of us lived in. The first bed I slept on was actually at my college dormitory. And it was so crazy. I couldn't even use that bathroom. I was so overwhelmed. I had to go across the street to this place where I used to go sell water. And that's when I saw those children just like me. That's when I learned that millions and billions. I talked about 300 million in that video. Those 300 million were 300 million kids just in Africa alone. Billions of kids worldwide are affected. And I said, somebody got to do something about this. And I went back to America. My wife and I started this organization called Samaritan's Feet, with a vision to go put shoes in the feet of 10 million children. And every time we give them shoes, we say, we want to do something very special. We just want to give them shoes. We want to be able to dignify those children and look them in the eye and ask those children, can they dream big dreams? That every single volunteer will humble themselves, just like one day, many of the JDA associates, just like friends like us, from places like, just look at it, if it's Coca-Cola, if it's, I don't have a lot of time today because my time is running fast, but I got to go. I got a few more minutes. But here are some of my friends, people like, partners like from GM to Coca-Cola to Bank of America to friends at Walmart. All these guys, they're associates in their community. Get the chance to live out and actualize what it truly means to be a servant leader. How do they make a difference? How do they connect one-on-one to the people in their community and remind them that they also can help change the world? Who knows, maybe one of those kids, if they get the chance to serve in their community here in the United States or somewhere around the world, can be another future Manny. That's why I'm so excited about what I do. See, I can stay here and tell you a bunch of stuff. We've become the official charity of the NCAA, a number of the NBA team, a number of the NFL teams, but that's not what truly matters. Because at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself this question. Is the community in which I'm planning in, it's actually better with me being there? If JDA closes their door tomorrow, would anybody miss them? Do people care? Are they all about themselves or about making this world actually better? Kevin talks about the carbon footprint in terms of like how responsibility is socially responsible as part of some of the things we're doing around all the crazy stuff that we are contributing as part of the supply chain environment. But what can we do to make this world better? If we don't show up to what if anybody don't care, don't miss us, that means we haven't really impacted anybody. And then lastly, the last question I always ask myself, and I hope as you leave today, that you ask yourself, who did I serve today? Because one of my greatest role models taught me a long time ago, if you want to be great in life, you've got to be a servant. See, I can stay here and tell you all this stuff, but it doesn't really matter. You got to go out there and help look in the eyes of people and see who it is going to help change their world. Because if you want to truly be great, you've got to learn the power of what it means to serve. I know JDA will love us for you guys to be a part of what Samaritan City is doing. Maybe you guys can say, I want to help contribute. I want to be a part of it. Come check us out there and see how you can actually learn about how your company can help join some of these other guys to help transform the world. Thank you so much for having me here today. I appreciate you guys, and God bless.